Good evening and welcome to the Red Chair Ministry. I am Dr. Carol Campbell-Norris and I'm here with Regina Nimmo. She is a children's grief counselor, educator, licensed mental health counselor. We are going to talk today about rituals. Welcome, Regina.
Hi, Carol. Thanks for inviting me back again.
It's so nice to sit with you and talk because I learned so much from you, and this is what we face every day when we have to talk to children. I see this in the work that I do, and it's always the adults, but what about the children? And today we just want to focus on children. This whole episode is talking about children, and if you do have a question, I think you could just shoot me an email or on Facebook or something, reach out to me and I'll address those things with Regina because she's the expert. Okay, right, Regina?
I've had a decade or so experience in this department, yes.
Yes, and I'm so glad to have you. So we are going to be talking about funerals. What about funerals? Why do we have funerals, Regina?
Funerals and memorials, rituals are very important in helping us process our grief. The mind is an amazing thing and it protects us from being overwhelmed by a traumatic event such as the death of a loved one. And the purpose of going to a funeral or a memorial is to help us have some closure. It gives us a place to mourn the loss of a loved one. So funerals and memorials are not for the deceased, they are for the living, for us to come together with other people who are grieving the loss of this same person, and for us to share memories, to share laughter, to share tears, and to be there to support each other and to help incorporate the reality of the loss into our mind and our view of the person.
Regina, I get questioned all the time about children going into the room. For example, I give you a scenario. There's a death. The children are gathered in the hospital. They're waiting outside in the consultation room, and they're waiting to hear what's going on. So now dad is dead. And the kids are out there. The adults come in to see dad, but the parents are afraid for and I know it's depending on the age group, but there's still no, I don't want my daughter to see dad looking like this or grandfather looking like this, and then you talk to the kid and you hear, I want to go say goodbye, and you just you can't overstep your boundaries, because the parents are in charge. And how do you address it?
I always encourage a conversation. Those anybody who has children or anybody who has siblings knows that we all have different personalities. So what you need to look at is the developmental age of the child, and then you also need to look at the personality of the child. And you want to give them a choice. As a children's counselor, I frequently hear, I was mad at my adult for not letting me do something I wanted to do, or I was mad at my adult for making me do something I didn't want to do. So ask the child, would you like to come in? And if they say yes, prepare them for what they're going to see. Tell them about the machines. Tell them about his no longer breathing. Give them permission to stay as short as they want or as long as they want. But let them make a choice so that they know what's happening. They can get their curiosity quenched, or they can also have an opportunity to say goodbye, and they can see that one of the things they can experience is that it's not as scary as their imagination imagines it to be.
That is so true, because I remember once, I never forget it, we had a grandma who passed and the kids were outside, and actually they were in the room watching grandma class, and one of the kid was holding on to
Yeah.
an adult in the room and was so afraid. The other kid wanted to see what was
Touch.
going on, and she came around, and the parents were afraid, and I said, it's okay if you'd want her to, let's go. And I took her hand and just touched grandma. I said, see,
Yeah.
yes, she feels a little cold, yes.
Mhm.
And he says, oh, she was the one who said she's cold, and I said, yes, she's cold.
Mhm.
And the other one, the other one who was holding on to the adult person in the room thought
Right.
that grandma was a ghost and
Right.
was afraid. So even in that, seeing
Mhm.
the other one touch and everything is okay, that little
Right.
one was able to come around and said, I want to touch too. And
Right.
it was such in the room, there was such brightness, there was such a light in the room, because everybody got to do what they felt in their heart to do,
Right.
watching grandma just leaving like that. So
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
Well, and children learn through touch. That children learn through play. So, I often prepare adults to allow, if you are going to have an open casket, or if you are going to have hospice involved or go to the hospital, to encourage and allow kids to touch, because that is how they learn. And death is a natural part of life. All of us have a terminal illness. It is called life. Everything that is living will die. I talk to children and parents frequently about the circle of life.
Mm-hmm.
And so this doesn't need to be a scary thing. This is a beautiful part that we're going to recognize. We have baby showers when babies are born, and we have funerals and memorials when people die. And these are the rituals that we have to honor the beginning of a life and honor the ending of a life.
Wow. Regina, you brought that over so nicely. That is so true, because you embrace life, you embrace death, but we're
Mhm.
not taught to do that because of all the grief and
Right.
the emotions, and when
Mhm.
emotions carry with emotion, you're not thinking straight, and it's overwhelming at times. So I understand why parents, adults
Mhm.
want to do that, but because they're taught that way too. I think sometimes it's
Exactly. Yeah,
generational. Yes,
it
they're
is.
taught that way. And then I mostly deal with adults. I have seen people come back into the hospital, they're sick, and they are in the hospital bed as adult, and they're reflecting on their childhood about death and dying,
Right.
and missing and not getting opportunity to do stuff. So these things go with you throughout your life, so it's good to make good decisions. uh, and talking about it at a time is very, very important, because then you'll know what to do and what not to do when it
Right.
comes around.
Right. Right. So, parents frequently ask me, should the children attend a funeral? And the answer is yes.
Mhm.
But you need to be aware of their age, and you need to prepare them for what's going to happen.
Mhm.
You need to let them know if you're going to have an open casket, you need to let them know that it will be there.
Mhm.
You don't want to force a child to go up, but you do want them to participate in the service. If you have a minister or a family member speaking, you want them to hear what's being said. You want them to see people laughing and crying together and
Yes.
being there to support each other. So that's all part of that ritual that they need to learn to participate in. If you're going, I always encourage, one of my moms was mad. She was upset because grandpa had made arrangements for the one grandson to play acoustic guitar at mass, and one grandson, the 12-year-old was going to play guitar, the 8-year-old was going to read the liturgy. And
Yes.
mom was furious. So I meet with the boys and I'm like, well, how do you feel about grandpa doing this? And the 12-year-old's like, I play guitar in mass all the time. I don't see what the problem is.
Yes.
Right? So grandpa knew his grandsons and how to have them participate in this important ritual. When I talk to the 8-year-old, he's like, I read the liturgy all the time for mass on Sunday. So he's worked with their strengths. But the 12-year-old, I'm like, so what are you going to play? He's like, the introduction to Assassin's Creed. I'm like, oh, I want to be a fly on the wall when he does that and watch all of the kids. And I'm like, how did you pick that? He's like, Grandpa always watched me play video games. And I'm like, Mom, he never criticized me or told me to get off the machine. He was always encouraging and supportive. So there was a reason to his choice and selection. Yes. And if you actually listen to it, it's a beautiful instrumental.
And the thing is that helps them to deal with their own grief.
It does.
Sometimes I feel like the adults, they put themselves on the kids. Oh, I'm feeling this way. They must be feeling that way too. Instead of asking, asking, because as I said over and over again, children are people. They're people. Grow up
with personalities and opinions.
Yes. So why not ask? Because later on they grow up, they're going to be angry at something. Just let it. Whatever needs to happen now.
Right.
And another thing, while you were talking, something came to mind from what you said. I noticed some family members, when they cry, or they're mourning, so to speak, they feel like the children are not supposed to be around to see them cry. Dry your tears. Don't let this one see you crying. That's another thing at funerals. I noticed that too.
What I educate families about is that, tears are a healthy way of healing the broken heart. They've done some research and studies on the chemical makeup of tears and what the chemical makeup of a tear that you cry over the death of someone and the one that you cry over physical injury are different. And God put it in as a way to help release the stress hormones and the cortisol and stuff that is racing through your body as you're dealing with this loss. And what always gets a mom's attention is what I'm like, if you thought potty training was tough, you now have to teach your child how to grieve while you're grieving. Yes. So you are the role model. You teach them that it's okay to express their emotions, because if you don't, then they're going to push it all inside. And this is when you get kids swinging and running because of the anxiety because they're not able to express their emotions.
Yes. Oh, Regina, thank you so much. I hope this helps someone out there. I just thank you for being here with us on the Red Chair. And thank you out there, you viewers. You are always welcome to the Red Chair Ministry on the Invisible Me Grief Support Services. And you can go on Facebook and see previous episodes, okay? Don't be afraid to visit and learn more about how to help children grieve. I just want to wish you all out there everything that is good. May God bless you and bless you all real good. Thank you again, and thank you, Regina.
Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.